Uncle Ron's stuff. Today's the 2nd of January, and this is going to be a short intro to charging a mini split. I have a Fujitsu mini split, and it's not cooling properly, and I have already done some preliminary work, and I believe that it's low in charge, and I can tell you that the industry says the only way to fix a charge on a mini split is that you use the low side and you pull it all out. You pull all the refrigerant out. Maybe you do try to detect the leak before you do that and fix the leak, but nonetheless you pull it out, fix the leak, pull a vacuum on it, make sure it's not leaking anymore, and then you fill the unit back up with new R410A, and the unit states on the plate that it takes about 4 pounds. That's what it's factory charged with, and that's to include like so many feet of piping. And in my case, it's well beyond that. So someone had to figure out how much additional 410A had to go into the unit, and I don't know what that was or what it is, but I know I'm low on refrigerant. And how do I know that? The unit only has a access port on the low pressure side, and my standard gauge set would not hook to it because it's a different size pipe thread, so I had to get a coupling to do that. And when I hooked up my gauge, the low pressure side, and I want to think about it in way of temperature, was at or below freezing, and that's no good. The low pressure side cannot be below freezing. It means if coils are freezing up on the inside, which means you are low in freon. I know that sounds weird that low in freon would cause your coils to freeze up, but that's is what happens. That is a symptom of low, I call it freon, but R410A. So the gauge read like 30 degrees or something on the low side, and this is with the system running as max as it can. Again, the mini split that I have varies the frequency to the compressor, so I have to make sure that the inside unit is running at the maximum. I'm trying to put as much load on the mini split as possible, and then look at the temperature. When I looked, it was 30 or so. So what I'm going to do, and I'll show you the next video, is preparing to put a charge in. And what I did was I bought 2 pounds. You can buy 2 pounds of R410A in a container, and it's legal to do so. And I'm going to add a charge. Again, that's not the way your HVAC tech is going to do it. They're not going to add charge. They're going to vacuum the whole thing out and put a whole new charge in. And that's probably going to be $600, $700, $800 to do that. So I thought it'd be worth a try to charge it. The following video shows you hooking my gauge up to the low side. It does not show you actually doing the charge, but what I did was I had a 2-pound tank, and I first put sealer into the low side port, and then I attached my 2 pounds of R410A to the low side port and slowly fed it in, watching my gauge to see if I could get the low side temperature to be up around 40 degrees. Above freezing. You have to have the low side temperature above freezing. Now, I wasn't considering the pressure side per se. That one's going to vary so much. That's what's so difficult about a mini split, is because the compressor is changing all the time. But I do need the temperature on the low side to be above freezing. It's got to be above 32, so 38, 40, 42 would be acceptable. And when I did put in the sealant and added close to 2 pounds, I got up to 38 or 40 degrees Fahrenheit on the low side temperature. I also have a point it and shoot temp gun, and it showed the pipe at the where it's coming into the compressor at being about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So I did effectively manage to charge it. I don't recommend you try do this. I'm just telling you what I did. And it seems to have worked, and I have since tried it in, it is a heat pump, of course. So I've tried it in the heat mode and the cool mode, and it seems to work fine in both. I'm a little mystified why it works. I mean, maybe I had a very miniature leak. I don't know how old the unit is. It could be 10, 12, 15 years old. I don't think it's ever been serviced by anybody. The inside coils, I had to clean those. The outside coils, I had to clean those. I never touched it. I lived here for 6 years. I very seldom run the unit. That's why I haven't done any maintenance on it. It appears the control board is good. If you have a problem with control board, you're talking big bucks, probably $1,000 or more to replace the control board, and then they're going to want to change the coolant or do whatever else. I don't even know. I thought it was worth a try. So this is the next video that I attach on the end of this. We'll show you my basic setup with the gauges. And a normal gauge set will not attach to the low side port on the mini split. You'll have to get an adapter. That's enough for the intro. Today is the 2nd of January 2025. And I'm going to add it now, and I hope it helps you in some way. Okay, this is the compressor unit from my Fujitsu, and this is the inside unit and the outside unit model number. And I have taken off the access panel to get to the refrigerant ports at the bottom. That's the panel setting up top, just plastic. And the things that are of interest here, and I'm going to try to show you, is the bigger tube is the low pressure side, and you see I have a port to connect a gauge to that, but you'll see on the high pressure side there is no monitoring port available. In fact, if you take this off, this is totally a vacuum. Yeah, there's a seal here, so you take this off and none of my gauge fittings will go on there, or if they go on, they don't mean anything, because this is literally rigged up with a valve inside of it that you apparently have to either take out or connect a vacuum to get it to go. So I cannot see the high pressure with my gauges, okay? But I can attach on to the high pressure side. No, the low pressure side right here. This is the high, the small tubing, and then the larger tubing coming back from the inside coil set. And I can't show very well, but it's much larger in size, okay? I have a rather standard cheap gauge set here, and right now the low pressure is reading about 190 psi, and this unit has not been running for some time. This unit very seldom ever runs. I don't know exactly how old it is. I would expect at least 10 years old. I did take the top off of the unit, and this panel here in the front pulled away, and I did clean all of the coils inside the unit. And you'll notice over here on the side there is a plate talking about it, which provides its model number, and also provides the refrigerant factory charge is 3 pounds of refrigerant will fill this unit, and I think about 15 feet of hosing. And this particular unit, you can see the line goes over there, and then right there at that corner it goes upward. It goes into the attic from there, and then runs all the way over to a inside set of coils, blower unit on it. So this is what I have, and again, it's this particular model of Fujitsu. Now, my problem is I have a leak. Freon leaked out of it, and I did in fact charge it once, and it took about 2 pounds, so it was pretty empty. And then I discovered that it actually leaked. I should have known that to begin with so much charge out of it, but dummy me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in charge, only this time I'm going to put some sealant into the line. Hopefully that'll take care of wherever the leak is. It is my theory that the leak is up at the coils inside the house, at that blower unit that's there. And I suspect it is at a fitting. One of these fittings are leaking around here. That would be my logical guess. That's my hope, and it's not a leak in the coil wraps around or the one up in the house. My theory on the coils is the one in the house stays at a relatively constant temperature. It doesn't vary a whole lot. It might get 60 degrees in there, and it might go to 80, but that's a very limited range, and the coils don't have to contract and expand a whole lot. They just don't have to go through that cycling over and over again. So I want to say the coils are probably fine, and they haven't developed any kind of crack or leak in the piping that runs through the coil set. It's more likely a fixture setting. And the one upstairs is mounted like 10 feet off the floor, so it would have been difficult for the installing people to work on it, and that's most likely wherever you're up on a ladder or you have to reach way in, that's when things don't quite get installed as fully, neatly, and completely as they should. So that's my take on it. Now, what I'm going to do, as I said, I have some sealer here. I'm going to hook it up to my gauge system, and I have a couple pounds of, this is a R410A unit, which is obviously newer than the old R22s that are around, but it also is being, this R410 will be around for a while longer, but eventually R410 will be phased out. So anyway, that's where I am at this point. I'm going to I've sort of given you an overview, and this would be a general sort of mini split that you see. Fujitsu was, I think, one of the first ones to come out with this sort of thing. And basically what it is like a window air conditioner, except they split and put the compressor component outside, and they have the coil set inside. They've separated them, but if I look at the BTUs related to this, it's on the plate. I think it says 14,000 for cooling up here someplace, which translates into a little more than a ton. So this is like a 1-ton air conditioning system. But again, it's like a window air conditioner in that, but it's been split. The compressor's out here, and the coil set is inside. Now this particular unit, I'm not going to go elaborate on it, but this one is known as a Halcyon, there it is, DC inverter. Okay, well, what does that mean? That means this is a 200, and there's the quick disconnect. This is a 220 volt unit, sometimes referred to as 208 volts, but 220, 240. And what they do, it's interesting, they bring the 240 in, they convert it to DC, and then using various sensors, the temperatures of the high pressure and low pressure ports, lines, the outside ambient air temperature, the inside ambient air temperature at the coils, and the setting that you have plugged into your inside unit, how you want it to be cool or hot, cold, fast, slow, whatever. That's all in here, and on top, underneath of this top panel here, there are a series of control boards, and it converts the direct current. It converts the 240 volt alternating current set at 60 cycles, alternating current. It converts it to direct current, and then it converts it back to 240 volts AC, but this unit controls the frequency. It is not a fixed 60 cycles anymore going to the fan motor or the compressor. It can vary, and various measurements and the logic on the control board can make the cycles much higher than 60 or drop it below 60, and that will impact the performance of the compressor as well as this fan that's out here. So it's an interesting concept. It's certainly advanced over a typical air conditioning unit, which is tied directly, if you will, to 240 volts, and the compressor runs at the same speed all the time, no matter what has happened. There are variations of that. My bigger units would set up underneath of this. One of them is called a two-stage compressor, and what that does is, if the air temperature monitored in the ductwork doesn't get cool enough because the heat load in the house is too much for the base level 3 tons, it will switch on a second compressor and gets me down, and it kicks me up to a 5-ton unit. So there is, in that particular case, a staging going on. This particular unit, if you will, it stages, but it stages incrementally or analog, in that it varies the frequency of the current voltage going to the fan here and also to the compressor. And all that logic is up underneath of this. And as far as I can tell, there's nothing wrong with any of that. It's just low on refrigerant. So before I get a service call out here, and on this particular unit, because of this port down here that I'm pointing to there, wherever it is, the high pressure side port, they're saying the only way to effectively seal a leak is that you pull out all of the refrigerant in the line. You use a vacuum, pull it all out, and you can measure the weight of it and see how much you're missing. You know approximately how much goes in from that faceplate, but that you pull, you get all that out, you use your leak detector, you fix the leak wherever it is, and then you pull a vacuum, make sure it's not leaking anymore, and then you flush the line with nitrogen, and then you put fresh refrigerant back in to the weight that is described on the plate, as well as calculated for the additional line length all the way up and over. That's what they say. They don't tell you to be adding refrigerant here on the high pressure line. They tell you that's not the way to do this. They tell you the only way to fix a leak is you pull it all out, fix the leak, and then fill it back up again with the exact amount of charge. Now, I can understand that in a sense because, again, I only have a monitoring port for my gauges on the low pressure side. So I'm going to try to do a fill based just on that. And from what I have read, what I seem to know, that what I'm looking for is about 120 pounds when everything is running at max. And what I'm going to do is force my inside air conditioning unit, the fan blower, I'm going to tell it to do max cooling. And that should then force this logic inside of here to speed up the compressor close to its maximum amount. Again, it's an analog. It'll vary the amount of compression going on based on various temperature sensors, what's being told up there, how hot it is or cold it is out here, so on and so on. But I'm going to force it to do high, and then I'm going to slowly put the sealant in along with refrigerant, and I'm going to try to get at least 120 psi on the high pressure side. And although I don't have it here, I have a heat gun, and I'm going to be looking at the actual temperature of the high pressure side and the low pressure side in terms of temperature. And what I of course need to see is the high pressure side get warm and the low pressure side get cool. And I don't have stick-on measuring thermometer business, but I have a heat gun, and I can look at them and give me an idea of what's going on. And again, this one should get warm, and this one should be getting cool over the period of time. The ambient air outside today is like 75. So anyway, this is an overview of a mini-split. Again, the main key features is I have no port to monitor the high pressure side, and I'm going to try to fill it, put refrigerant in it, and try to seal the unit using just the low pressure side. That's an overview. I will try to do more video when I actually start doing the charge.